Hola internautas, en el segundo día 7 de junio del Bilderberg 2013 hubo una reducida presencia de medios de masas como en el primer día y fueron los medios independientes mayoritarios. También empezamos a ver llegar a manifestantes, a familias y a grupos de curiosos que entraron en esta zona, en la única zona permitida en el interior del Globo Hotel para los que no son asistentes al Bilderberg. Uno de los periodistas que estaban allí se dio una vuelta en bicicleta y esquivando a la policía, intentando adentrarse por los caminos y las carreteras en los que normalmente no se permite entrar, y llegó hasta un campo de fútbol que está en el interior del jardín del Globo Hotel, y este campo de fútbol había sido ocupado y convertido en un barracón de agentes de seguridad del grupo G4S. El número de efectivos es enorme, estamos hablando de un campo de fútbol entero donde lo habían convertido pues eso, en un gallinero. También habían camionetas con cámaras de seguridad, cámaras con una especie de periscopio que estaban escondidas en los arbustos y entre los árboles y que estaban posicionadas pues un poco por todos los sitios cada ciertos metros pues estaban escondidos y con esto pues vigilaban. También parece ser que alguien dijo que podían haber también infrarrojos escondidos para poder vigilar durante la noche. A principio de tarde, Alex Jones y su equipo de Infowars sorprendieron a todos los manifestantes atravesando el canal que cruza el jardín de Grove, más allá de la zona en la que no se permite el paso a los manifestantes. La atravesaron en una barca con un megáfono en la mano y fueron seguidos por la policía en todo momento, que curiosamente no les pararon, les dejaron continuar, pero tampoco les perdieron de vista. Aquí os dejamos las imágenes.
This way. No, basically agree that once that barge moves that way, they'll go shut down.
We are here in defiance of the global crime syndicate mafia, Bilderberg, that is criminally meeting here in England at taxpayer expense, while the public is harassed. This is outrageous! And that's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why Infowars.com and my crew are here to expose this outrageous tyranny. And we are here to expose the financial interests that are sucking everybody's pension funds dry and bringing in this corporate world government. We want national sovereignty and freedom and due process. And by God, we will have it. The answer to their tyranny, the answer to their 1984 nightmare, that answer that we give them in their face is that the answer to 1984 is 1776. The answer to 1984 is 1776. Down with the New World Order, down with the mega banks that have captured the world, up with worldwide resistance to tyranny.
Well, they just said right here.
Alex? Come on, come on. Once you get to the other side of that box,
Yeah.
you have to get off the bar, just not this side of the line.
Got it. Get off up here. Well, can I go off all the way? Yeah, I was going to get David Cameron coming, yeah. Hey, ma'am, can you tell me when I walk out what the name of the street is so I can call my guy?
Tras esta incursión en barco, el equipo de Alex Jones de Infowars volvió de nuevo al recinto y se encontraron con el polémico escritor americano David Icke, que vino a saludar a los manifestantes. Aquí os dejamos el discurso.
David, would you have a word for the attendant of the Bilderberg?
No.
Sorry.
David, what do you think? They just need all the help they can get.
Have you got anything to say to all of us, David?
Well, the thing I've got to say more than anything else is, you know, when I think back 20, 23, 4 years, and the amount of people that knew anything about this was so tiny, and yet now this is a really major moment. Not just here, but in the way that the knowledge of this organisation's got out, because they're coming out of the shadows, and this is such a wonderful symbolic part of the web, because it's a point that people can relate to. If you go deep in the rabbit hole, where they're talking, you know, you're talking about things that people are going, he said what? That's another thing. But this is a point that people can relate to, because what it is simply, you know, what we've been saying all these years is, if you look at the corporations and the banks and the governments and the political parties, in the end they're all controlled by the same people. They're different masks on the same face, and here we have the absolute living proof of that this weekend in that hotel, where, I mean, what's the point of having lobby laws when the buggers get on the same roof? You know, if it stopped now and we all went home, we've made massive strides in the last few days. Just in the, you know, the mainstream media acknowledgement of the fact that it exists. But if we can get a lot of people here tomorrow, we can make a massive statement.
Well, we've got to work now on getting the police to not misdirect people. Because they did that to us when we were on the other side of it. They kept saying, go on down the road a little more, and then down the road, and then I was like 3 miles away trying to walk back. That's what they're doing to everybody.
Well, it's just like I said to the guy who was doing his kind of, you know, thing with his stick and stuff when you come in, the old security. Yeah, I said, you know, what's happening here is the prisoners are policing the prison, but they can't see it. But you know, that's a thing, that an area we have to get to, and that is to get those in uniform and the dark suits that administer it and don't know that what they're doing, and the fact that their children and grandchildren are in the gun sight as well, to realise that you know, they shouldn't be protecting them from us, they should be protecting us from them. That's what they should be doing. That's the dynamic, but they don't. This is the way it works. And you know, what we've got here is a real symbolism. Is very powerful. What we've got here is a symbol of the world, because what they want to create is a Hunger Games type world in which you have a tiny few that are unbelievably mega rich. And you think you'd go from poor through what they call middle class to rich. If you look at the graphs now, it's going down there and then suddenly whoop with the 1%. And in some of the graphs, they are so rich that it actually goes off the page and they have to put the top of the graph next to it. And this is what they want. They want a society in which there is a mega rich and everyone else is mega poor. And in the middle of that are the dark suit administrators and the uniforms to administer the 1% agenda on the mega poor masses. So here we have a situation here where you've got 140 people meeting there. You've got a ring of steel around them, so they are cut off from us, exactly what the Hunger Games society is supposed to be. And then you've got the uniforms administering that and protecting that from the mass of the people. That is precisely the dynamic that they want, that global society.
And that's why they're engineering it to make us poor in their own Agenda 21, so that they can then control the services and make us beg for crumbs. And they brag about this. In fact, a few years ago, they openly said, we want to make people so poor they can't come protest us.
Well, this is what they've done, is crash the economy in 2008. And done it on purpose, and then they started a massive, phenomenal, unprecedented transfer of wealth from the mass of the people to this elite through the banking system. So, first stage of that was crash the banking system, and then you get governments to bail out the banks. Now it's a banking problem has become a government problem. The next stage of that, and this is what Cyprus was all about, was to go into a point where, having taken the banking problem and into a government problem, you then pass it on, this is what's happening now, to the people as an austerity problem. And so this transfer of wealth is going from banks, from the banking system, or to the banking system, through government, from the people. People, government, banks. Cyprus was about going to the next stage of that and not even going through governments, to steal from the people, but going direct into their bloody bank accounts. And the point being, the power of precedent is massive. And having set it in Cyprus, then when the next banking crisis comes, and it's all planned, of course, it'll be discussed in there over the weekend, possibly now, they are going to say, well, hold on a second, we can't, governments, bail out the banks anymore. Well, what about the people of Cyprus? We can't let them have their, money taken from their bank account and then say that it's not happening elsewhere. This is what the European Union's got to say. And therefore, the idea is to transfer wealth, not just via governments to the banks and the elite, but actually from bank accounts alone. And the point is, and I'll say this to anyone who wants to listen, who has got lots of money now, and thinks, well, I'm all right, Jack, never mind what's happening in bloody Watford and what those people are doing.
They're going to devalue it.
What they've got to understand, these people now who are seriously rich, if you are not part of this network, they want your money too. So we're in this together. And if they divide and rule us by saying, well, it's not my problem, or it's not my problem, and then suddenly knock, 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 can I talk to you, sir? Well, it is your problem. But all the people that could have stood by your side have already been picked off while you were looking the other way. This is why we need to come together. Because if you're not part of this elite, they want your money. They want your poor. And this is a massive, massive moment. I think tomorrow could be one of the days that we look back and say, that's the time.
The world woke up.
Con esto concluyó el segundo día, 7 de junio, en el que la policía cerró el recinto a las 8 de la tarde y los manifestantes fueron expulsados sin más incidentes. Gracias por seguirnos y dentro de poco subiré otro vídeo con el tercer día y con más reportajes en exclusiva del Bilderberg 2013. Gracias, hasta luego.